Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ashmita and I hope you all are doing well. And yes, came back a while ago after watching Kurup and I went for the afternoon show today. I watched the film in Malayalam with the subtitles, though I had the option to watch the Hindi dub, but then I just decided that no, I want to watch it in Malayalam only. Directed by Srinath, Rajendran and starring Dulquer Salmaan in the titular role, this film was a combination of hits and misses for me. So yes, let's deep dive into the detailed analysis and I will keep the spoilers to the minimum. Starting off with the writing or the narration style, for me this is probably the biggest plus point of the film. In the first half of the film, the narration gives us only half of the picture and the pieces of the puzzle start fitting together only in the second half. And when I was watching the film, I could totally imagine the makers in the scripting stage itself that they were very clear how they want to show the flow of events. So I kind of liked that it was not a linear storytelling format. Also, the way the story was presented, it reminded me of the movie Drishyam 2, where the first half of the film is just used to set the entire context and introduce us to the headspace of the characters. And then in the second half, you literally don't have the time to blink because everything is coming together and you are getting one revelation after the other. I had loved Drishyam 2 narration for this exact reason and Kurup was no different. Next is how the writing doesn't glorify this character, which was a point of discussion or controversy since the teaser had dropped. The way this entire thing has been weaved, I felt that as an audience, we are not given the slightest of the window to understand why Kurup's behavior is like this. Like for example, any childhood backstory, etc. From the very first scene itself, where his parents figure out that Kurup lied to them and convinced that he cleared his exams with flying colors, we are made very clear that Kurup has a cunning mind. I think that was a sane decision taken by the makers and his overall characterization has been dealt with quite well. Like at no point of time I felt any sympathy for this character whatsoever. Where people might have an issue with the writing style of the film, and this I'm only saying because this is marketed as a commercial film, is the expectation of having at least one or two mass moments. And if you had that expectation that Dulquer will have those massy scenes, then you are bound to be disappointed. For me personally, I did not want Kurup as a character to have any whistle-worthy moments. So yes, as a Dulquer fan who would have wanted to whistle at his entry or something like that, you are not going to find that opportunity. And honestly, I was absolutely fine with that. Now, where the narrative actually disappointed me was because of the introduction of certain subplots, which I thought was not necessary. And if those subplots were excluded from the movie, the length would have, become a little bit shorter. Not that having a 2.5 hour runtime is a problem for a movie itself. It's absolutely not. But personally for me, I felt that the subplot was not at all required to put in the film, and that is the friendship shown between Kurup and Peter. Look, I am all up for setting up context in a film. In fact, I love that. But when you set up something and then there is no payoff in the later part of the film, then adding that subplot seems extremely pointless, at least for me. Peter and Kurup's bonding was a very prominent highlight in the film, but it adds nothing to the plot. Every other supporting character is affected somehow or the other because they interacted with Kurup. Like for example, even his relatives who were based out in Mumbai gets interrogated by the police later, and they barely have any screen time. And it's not like Peter's presence in Kurup's life is influencing his thinking in any way. So honestly, his value addition to the plot was technically nil for me when I saw that there was no payoff in the second half. Another thing that I'm a little bit torn is with how the film ended. I personally would have preferred if they had kept the ending open to interpretation. And yes, I know that the makers gave this disclaimer that this is a fictional story. This is just my preference that I am just stating. Let me know if you were happy with how this film ended, because it clearly stated that there is a sequel in the works which is going to be called Alexander. Maybe. Next, I am happy with the direction and the edit of the film. This is intended to be a slow burn in the first half, and that is exactly how the film has been paced. The payoffs were worth it in the second half for me. Okay, now the BGM. Sushin Shyam deserves a huge round of applause for the BGM of this film, and I am absolutely not overstating this. The score of this film is incredible. It is hands down one of the biggest highlights of this film, and it perfectly sits with the mood of the narration at various points. The score is not trying to outdo the scene, but rather it enhances that scene. This made me an even bigger fan of Sushin Shyam. Like, how talented is this guy? Next is the overall production design and art direction. The movie spans from 1960s to 1980s, so a lot of care has been taken in ensuring that the background, costume, look, props, etc. gives that authentic feel. It definitely looks like a proper period drama. The film is visually very, very beautiful to look at, and of course kudos to the cinematographer for that. But the VFX done is also quite decent. So yes, technically this film is really, really well made. Lastly, coming to the performances. Now, before I talk about the lead of this film, Dulquer, I have to first talk about Shine. You know, his very first film that I watched was Ishq, and there he gave me the creeps. He was like my favorite performer in Ishq. And here he has taken the creepiness level several notches higher, and he just ate his role. He's probably there for 30 odd minutes in the entire film, but the impact that he created in those 30 minutes, I'm shook. I am literally shook. His acting is going to be one of the biggest takeaway for you as an audience after you exit the theaters. I cannot praise him enough for the performance that he gave. Just wonderfully done. The rest of the supporting cast, Indrajit Sukumaran, then Shobita Dhulepala and Sunny Vain, you know, they were also nice, decent. They just did the exact right amount that they were supposed to do. It was not over exaggerated, it was not underplayed, it was just the right amount. Then of course the star of the film, Dulquer Salmaan, he literally carried this film on his shoulders from start to finish, and he did a really good job at it. Dulquer for me has always been like the charming actor, because whatever, you know, work of Dulquer I have watched, there is the sense of charm that he has that translates through the screen, and it puts a smile on your face, you know, automatically. But here also he has that charm with him, but there is an added layer of wickedness and cunningness and naughtiness which made this entire character, well, really easy to hate. Like I said in the beginning, at no point I had any sympathy for this character whatsoever, and Dulquer ensured with his acting and his portrayal of Kurup that we really don't like him. This for me is one of Dulquer's most superior performances, hands down. Overall for this film, I would say is that manage your expectations while watching this film, because even though it looks commercial, it doesn't feel commercial. You probably may not completely vibe with the film, but still there would be like memorable takeaways for sure. For me, I would say this was a nice one-time watch. And yes, those were my thoughts on the latest Malayalam release, Kurup, starring Dulquer. Definitely let me know your thoughts if you have already watched the film. And yep, I will be reading them in the comments below. And I hope you have enjoyed this review and have come till the end. And I will see you soon on my next video. Bye.